Good morning and welcome to the 2023 Opperman Alumni Lecture. The Opperman Lecture is funded through an endowed gift by the late Dwight D. Opperman, who attended Dakota Wesleyan University in 1947 and 1948. Mr. Opperman earned a law degree from Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. Drake also has an endowed Opperman Lecture and the Opperman Scholars, which Dakota Wesleyan graduates have received. Opperman was CEO of West Publishing House of St. Paul, Minnesota, where under his leadership, the company moved from technology products with the creation of the Westlaw legal database. The Opperman Distinguished Alumni Lecture was created to connect Dakota Wesleyan students with alumni who found success in their professions. I'm pleased to introduce the 2023 Opperman Alumni Lecture, Dr. Rylie Osthus. Rylie's a 2019 Dakota Wesleyan graduate. Following her graduation from Dakota Wesleyan, she attended Northwestern Health Sciences University in Bloomington, Minnesota, where she received her doctorate of chiropractic with an emphasis in sports chiropractic. In her time at Dakota Wesleyan, she excelled as a student athlete, as a member of the women's basketball team. She was an All-American. She was named A.O. Dewar and MLS Liston Award winner for the Great Plains Athletic Conference, and she was the point guard of the 2018 National Championship basketball team. When asked to describe Rylie's impact on the team, Coach Christensen said she never cared about the accolades, she just cared about her team, and she cared about winning. Rylie and her teammates will be inducted in the Dakota Wesleyan Athletic Hall of Fame tomorrow night, and her lecture this morning is titled Lessons from a Championship Season. Please join me in welcoming Rylie Osthus.
Okay, I get a fancy microphone and everything. All right, so I was going to introduce myself, but I think Jory pretty much took care of that. Originally, when I was asked to do this speech by Coach Christensen, he came up and he was just like, hey, do you want to talk at homecoming week? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Thinking that this is going to be like a casual talk in front of 10 people. And then, of course, we get on the phone with Jory, and he goes, no, it's the Opperman Lecture. I'm like, oh, great. So this is a little bit more the real deal. But yeah, like Jory said, I'm Rylie Osthus. I'm from DeSmet, South Dakota. Came here at Dakota Wesleyan to play basketball, and I also majored in athletic training. So I try not to forget that was really why I came here, was getting my degree. So I finished with my bachelor's in athletic training and got my ATC as well. And then after that, I went to chiropractic school and got a doctorate of chiropractic with an emphasis in sports. And all of that, a tiny little piece of that is that we won the national championship game. But that's kind of why I'm up here talking to you, is I want to give you an idea of what I got out of the lessons of that season and then how I apply them to my life still today. I'm trying to make this probably the least boring I can for all of you students out there. I totally get coming here and getting your extra credit, because that's what we used to do. But yeah, before we start, I just want to give a shout out to most of my teammates that are watching on live stream, and my coaches, the weight training staff, and as well as the athletic training staff, because obviously I wouldn't be up here talking without those people. We don't win a championship without those people, and they're really the reason why we have all these lessons today. So I kind of split this up into some just bullet point lessons, right? So to start with, my first lesson is hills are hard. And not only do I mean just running hills, those are terrible, right? Every one of you athletes back there know what I'm talking about. But what I mean by that is it's never going to be easy to reach your goal, right? Hills, you're going to come over hills every single season, every single time you're trying to reach that goal. And I try to think of how years before we won the championship game, our goal was just simply to get to the national tournament, right? So our mountain is kind of what I say was get the national tournament. And we overcame lots of hills to get to the national tournament, right? But getting to the national tournament wasn't enough anymore once you hit that. So after that, you have to set a new goal. Your new mountain is now win a championship. And that's the same thing in life. is as I've gotten through graduate school, where I failed my first ever test. I was freaking out, right? Climbed the hill, and lo and behold, graduate and now become a doctor and here in Mitchell, of all places too. But yeah, and still every day that I'm in clinic, in practice, I meet patients that are more difficult than others. I have days that I wake up and I was like, I just really wasn't good at my job today. But then the next day is great, and you keep going over those hills until you finally reach that mountain. And the best part about what we went through is that those hills were never alone, right? We had the teammates, the coaches, the supporting staff that we get to climb all those hills together and reach our mountains and then set another mountain, right? So those are the main things that I want to get out of this lesson, is that you just keep climbing, and once you get to that mountain, there should always be another one behind it. So lesson number 2, turn up your music. What I mean by that is block out the bad parts. I try to think of when we were going to games back in the day, you turn up your music right before we get to the court. You're focusing in on what it is that you want to accomplish and not anything on the outside world, right? So there's always going to be criticisms out there. There's always going to be people that don't like the way that you do things necessarily. Me as a doctor, I'm not everyone's favorite doctor, but I like to think I do a good job of what I do. And same thing as an athlete, as a student, as a person in life, is there's always going to be criticisms, but block out the bad and focus on what it is that you want to accomplish to reach your goals. Next, number 3, soak it up. So what I mean by this is be a sponge. Take in all of the information you possibly can and be a lifelong learner, right? Not only are you going to block out the bad with your music, but soak up those good parts too. Soak up the moments, little moments with your teammates, your classmates, your teachers, everyone in your life, family, all the way through adulthood, is soak up the little things that you get to experience with them. Just riding to a basketball game. Some of our best memories were on a bus, right? And that's what I mean by this. But also, as you get older, you're going to find that you have to be able to take in good things out of bad things as well. I like to liken this to when Coach Christensen would be a little bit frustrated and start talking to me at a practice or a game. And there's some frustrations that come out that I have to block out. But there's also always a main point that he wants to get to and a lesson he wants to share with me. So it's about trying to get through those frustrations that we both have, but still get the overall lesson that we have at the end, and taking that and using it for good. All right, so lesson 4, sprints are never fun, which I don't care if you're a runner, there's no way they're fun to anyone, right? And what I'm using this for is basically find the laughter in the hard things, right? Be humble about your life. Be able to laugh at yourself, laugh at hard situations on occasion. And I don't mean like crazy things, but I think of even some memories back when we were playing and you guys can recall this, is on our trips down to Concordia, the back end of the bus opened up and we lost one of our players' duffel bags. And at the time, we were like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is never going to work out. We're all just mad. And now today, I can promise you every one of the teammates that are watching this are laughing, because this is one of the best moments we have, right? We found the silver lining out of that bad. And same thing every day in your life going on. There's going to be days where I go through in my practice seeing patients that one patient was just, gosh, they just weren't working with me very well, right? But you take kind of the good things out of that, absorb what it is that you can do with it. So try to make their day better, even though they come in and they might not be the easiest person to work with. And you're going to use that every day of your life, right? So next, and this might be one of our favorite things that we've ever said as far as in practice, and I still use it today, is be a spark plug. So be a good teammate in and out of the classroom, be a good teammate to your teammates, to your fellow classmates, to your boss, to anyone that works with you, and be a good teammate to your family as well, right? There's going to be days that you wake up and you're like, I do not want to do this. But you have to be the one that goes in there and be able to give the extra 80% if your partner is at 20% to reach that 100%. You have to be able to come in there and make the day better just because you want to be that spark plug. Make sure that you can be someone that can be counted on even when things get tough. And then into lesson 6, this might be what I think is personally the most important out of all of these, and that's it takes a village, right? Any big goal that you set for yourself will always take someone else to get there. You're gonna have a huge village, whether that's for us at the time was family, fans, supporters, like I said, our athletic training staff, our coaches, our weightlifting staff, everyone that got us to that point. And you're gonna find that as you go through life, whether that's graduate school next or whether that's working out in the real world next, there's always gonna be someone that helped you get there, right? So make sure that you realize that there's no doing it alone, and you should never have to do it alone. Look around and make sure that you find the village that got you to where you are. So that leads to lesson 7, is thank those people, right? And I don't mean just think that they know that you're thankful. Actually walk up to them and actively thank them. And that's kind of the main thing nowadays is we're like, yeah, they know that they mean a lot to me, right? And it's just so much more meaningful if you go up and tell them, thank you for getting me to where I am today, right? It's not just, thank you for doing this for us. Like, I would not be standing up here in front of you today without my village. And then lesson 8, and this kind of portrays to what I'm doing right now, is spread the wealth. So drop your information and your knowledge and plant seeds into those around you. So for instance, me sitting up here today talking to you about my experiences, but go out there in the world and do that to everyone that you meet. One of my favorite parts of being part of this team is that we got to see all the little girls at the time, and maybe some of you are in this room, that watched us play and got inspired by that and grew up to do their own thing. So now they're playing basketball in college, they're playing basketball in high school, and they're going into athletic training and things like that for us, that we get to see them grow up. And it's so special to see them grow up into that young woman, and I can't wait to see those people grow up into being in the workforce and seeing how great they are, right? So that's the main takeaway for that, is that don't just keep your knowledge to yourself. Make sure that you go out there and you plant a seed in someone else. Try to influence as many people as you can, whether that's your teammate, some little boy or little girl on the sideline that you're like, they just need a little bit of something to have big dreams, right? Never think that you can't do that for them, and be humble about it. So, if you take anything away from this message today, I hope you know that being a champion in life will never be easy, but completely worth it. There's going to be a lot of hills to climb to get to your mountain, and I hope that after that mountain, there's another one. And that you continue to get better and better in your life each day, whether that's on the playing field, in education, or just being a great family member, great person in the workforce, right? And next, make sure that you thank your village, because like I said, you can't do it alone, and those people are going to be your supporters and your fans for the rest of your life. For instance, I have a whole group of girls and people that are coming together tonight that are still great supporters of us, of me and my life, and same as we go through it, this, me and theirs. And last but not least, spread your wealth. Go out there and talk to someone, share your experiences, and plant a seed so that they can grow too. I'm super thankful that you guys asked me to come up here and do it. I've been shaking the whole time, but that's okay. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for having me come back to Dakota Wesleyan. This place is a super special place to me. It definitely got me started out on the right foot, and I'm so thankful the experiences it gave me and got me to where I am today. So yeah, and I think we'll leave it to Jory to give questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rylie. I want to take some time to open it up for some questions for Rylie. While you take a chance to think of some questions, I'm going to ask the first one because I promised Rylie that Jason wouldn't ask the first one.
I said this front row is outlawed.
So there you go. Talk a little bit, or can you expand on maybe a lesson responding to failure? Okay, so maybe during the GPAC tournament, during that championship season, talk about that, and how did that help you get to the national championship?
Right. So, yeah, a lot of people, I mean, if you were at the games, you kind of know this, but we actually lost to Concordia 4 times before we played them, and three times before we played them. Oh my gosh, that's sad that I said 4. 3 times before, yeah, we played them 4 times. So, lost to them 3 times before we made it to the national championship game. So, as one can imagine, that's kind of heartbreaking a little bit as you go through, and you fail, but this team was so good about picking each other up, and that's a lesson you should take to everyday life, is pick someone up, because that's not over, right? We had a lot of season ahead of us, and we got through it, and not only did we win, but we kind of crushed them that game, and I like to say that. But yeah, and failure, it's going to come every single aspect of your life, but it's just about picking those people up next to you and letting the people that are around you also support you to get you up to that. There's a lot of meek days in our locker rooms, things like that, after those losses, but it never deterred us from what our end goal was. Does that answer it?
Other questions for Rylie? Raise your hand, I'll come to you with a mic.
I've always got a question.
That's right.
So at the national championship, a lot of us were there, and we remember just like the freak out joy that everybody's experiencing and screaming at the top of your lungs and the confetti and all of it. But now it's been several years. How has that joy changed?
Yeah, like we said, it's kind of, at first, I won't lie to you, I kind of blacked out when we won. I don't remember a whole lot after that, like the first 30 minutes, just because it was just surreal. But more so now, it's turned into gratitude, right? And instead of us being able to say, well, yeah, we won a national championship, I'm more thankful for the rest of that season, right? Because I got to spend it with some of the best girls that I know. And same with my coaching staff that supported us. And that's kind of how it's changed as we've grown on, is, yeah, it's great, and people come up and they're like, how was it? And I was like, well, it was great at the time, and it's still great, but I kind of blacked out at that moment, so I can't tell you a lot of details. But as we've gone on, yeah, it's more changed just to complete gratitude of the whole season and all of those girls and everyone that got us to that point, even the girls from prior years, just helping us develop to being where we were. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Rylie.
Hi.
Can you talk a little bit about, as a chiropractor, you deal with people who have pain, injuries. How have these lessons helped you relate to your patients?
Yeah, so that's a great point. So I get to deal with a lot of people in pain, which sometimes means that they're a little bit difficult to deal with at the time, right? Jason, you prepped me really well for that. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, so it just kind of gives you the sense that, like I said in the speech, is you got to be able to block out the bad, but get the parts that you want out of them, that you need, right? So when they come in and they're in pain and they're talking about their situation, being able to not ignore them, understand that they're going through pain, but also really get the points that you really need out of it, right? To give the best care, I have to know certain questions, certain answers to things. And so that's kind of what I've taken out of it, is, like I've said in this speech, was being able to kind of sift through it and get the overall point of what we're doing, but still also being able to be there for someone, right? So that's kind of how it's helped me today anyway, is, yeah, it definitely takes some patience, but it's gotten better, and I love doing what I do.
Hey, Rylie, can you talk a little bit about how your experience maybe influenced, your family members,
Mm-hmm.
Ren and Rhett to come here?
Yeah.
Just the Smith connection overall, ever
Yeah.
since you've been here, we've had a lot of kids come through from the
Yep.
Smith, so.
Yeah, we have. I'm sure a lot of you out there already know either Ren or Rhett, one of my sister or brother. I'm sorry. Just kidding. No, and for them, I think they both could tell you this, is they saw how special Wesleyan was for me and how I went through everything, and it became a family not only to me, but to my family. And I think all my family members could tell you that. It's just been really special for them, and for them to come in here and be so welcomed, right? That's kind of the biggest thing for us, is just they came and they were just spectators. But I remember there's a picture of my brother in the front row of a championship game, and he is like 12, right, in the front row of the student section. And it just became such a family connection for us, and let alone a community connection. Like you said, we've had, gosh, a lot of people from DeSmet now come here because they were able to experience that championship season with me. A lot of them came and watched those games, or just in general fell in love with Wesleyan the same way we did, and again just were welcomed with open arms and saw a family in DWU just as much as their own. Mm-hmm.
Got a familiar face
I was
asking
going to
this
say,
question.
I don't know if we should let her have the mic.
Hi, Russ.
Hi, Grandma.
I think you should explain to everyone how close you and your teammates are today,
Yeah.
and how important they are to you as a extended family.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they're probably all on live stream, which I asked them, don't they have work to do? And they all said no. Nothing better than this. But yeah, and they can all attest to you about this, but when we get together, it's like no time has passed. And that's super special to us. And like I said, this is kind of a support crew away from all my family members. And I know that no matter what I've done, I still get messages. I got 3 this morning, good luck. And I'm like, thanks, guys. And but just in anything in this life, I've gotten messages from all of them saying good luck, we're proud of you, things like that. And that's what's special to me, is that we can get together and there's nothing that's changed at all. What was that? Oh gosh, too many weddings. But yeah, like I said, they become another family, just like all of my family. So that's pretty special.
Anybody have one last question? All right, seeing none. Let's give Rylie a round of applause.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rylie, and thank you all for attending the 2023 Opperman Lecture.